connoisseur of bristlers, I always enjoy when the dad gets his speech over with. I can eat, leave, whatever. Leave in the middle, by the way. It's cool. We're chill. We're chill. I'm so happy that you're here. I think we roughly underestimated, actually. Shoot, look at that, Art. It's the middle of the week, it's the summer, but it's the end of the summer. It's hard to figure out. Thank you for coming. So many thank yous are in order, and for me, that's the scariest part of the speech, because I'm for sure going to exclude somebody, but someone who certainly can never ever be excluded is my wife, who has gotten really, really good at making babies. Guys, look at this baby. She carried this kid around. It's crazy. Anyway, thank you, Ari. Thank you. Thank you to BJC. Thank you, Matthew Hockerman. Thank you to my family, my extended family. Thank you to all the women who came out last night. Thank you to Mrs. Chepowitz, Mrs. Lamb, Mrs. Feldman, and probably several other Mrs. Shapiro. I for sure put my foot in my mouth. We'll find out later how. And also, thank you to my kids. It is, yeah. Oh, yeah. No? Okay. Vivi says I can't embarrass her, but I have to tell you that, okay, I can't tell you. They stepped up in an unbelievable way, and just to be able to bring this baby, people keep asking me, oh, how are your kids taking it? Like, they're like fighting over each other who gets to hold the baby. That's how they're taking it. I would like to explain Ami's name to him. So if you don't mind, I'm gonna have a little conversation. You're more than welcome to listen in. When I was younger, not like so much younger, I had a special affinity with Tisha B'Av. Those who know me know I'm not much of a davener, but on Tisha B'Av, I get stuck. I'm in the davening, and I can't quite explain it. I get stuck on Shema Kolenu, and I feel like I have to add something. But what are you going to add? What are you going to tell Hashem that Hashem doesn't know already? What are you going to say? What are you going to beg for? What can you possibly add to the liturgy? And I find myself every year, in the earliest Tisha B'Av I can remember, I found myself saying to Hashem, we're still here. We're still here. And I wanted Hashem to know that despite it all, despite the long travails, that we're still here. Because the march of the Jew is a long and arduous one, and it's never ending, and yet we are still here. There used to be a very strong pastime amongst rabbis to write books where they prove Judaism, or they prove the Torah, or proofs, I don't know. The 90s, the 2000s, it was really hot. It's a little passé now. Maybe it'll come back. I think it's passé partially because people don't like the truth anymore, and it doesn't sell. But there's all sorts of proofs. You can still find these books, and there's the astronomical proofs. What are the chances that the Earth would be just the place it is? What are the chances that biologically we'd evolve just the way we did? Teleological proofs, ontological proofs, and then you hit Kant, and no one can have fun anymore. But there was one basic case. I wouldn't even say proof. It's a case to me that obviated all the others. But once you give me this, I don't need anything else. And that is us, here, the long march of the Jew. What more do you need? I'm going to read to the three of you. Actually, you're the only one who hasn't heard this. The Mark Twain. I'm going to skip the middle part. But he made a marvelous fight in this world, in all the ages, thank you, in all the ages, and has done it with his hands tied behind him. He could be vain of himself, he could be excused for it. The Egyptian, the Babylonian, and the Persian rose, filled the planet with sound and splendor, then faded to dream stuff and passed away. The Greek and the Roman followed and made a vast noise, and they are gone. Other peoples have sprung up and held their torch high for a time, but it burned out, and they sit in twilight now, or have vanished. The Jew saw them all, beat them all, and is now what he always was, exhibiting no decadence, no infirmities of age, no weakening of his parts, no slowing of his energies, no dulling of his alert and aggressive mind. All things are mortal, but the Jew. All other forces pass, but he remains. What is the secret of his immortality? The long march of the Jew through history. Who can see this and not weep? The forever nation is not afraid of the long road. I think the specter of October 7th hangs over every one of us, I'm sure. It's a day that you will tell your grandchildren about. Actually, your siblings will. I guess whatever. You will tell your grandchildren, unless you already have grandchildren. It was like the world held its breath. It couldn't be. These sorts of things just don't happen anymore. And I know also that that was the first wave reaction. The second wave reaction was the overwhelming response of action. Friends of mine leaving their families behind to go to Gaza, to go to war, reserves, Sadir, people raising money, sending supplies, the Chilonim who kashed their kitchens, the Haredim who were out there feeding the soldiers. These were the October 8th Jews. A new world where all of us were called to act. I'm going to share something overly personal. I think your mother and I, we were very happy with 4 kids. We had 4. We feel like Hashem gave us a complete family. But we decided that the world needs more Jews. And we would not sit this one out. In a world bereft of 1,200 souls and hundreds more since, how could we, how dare we, if we had the ability to deny the Ribbon Shalom, more light and more children? Amihai, you carry a name, and you now embody forever an idea that your nation lives. Your footsteps join the long march. To be a Jew is to hear your ancestors 1,000 years ago in one ear, and your descendants 1,000 years hence in the other. It's a song, in fact, with millions of voices, and the world is waiting to hear yours. Yehuda. Oh, okay. We love Yehuda. Huge Yehuda fans. I think I got called out on Shabbat. I'm surprised no one guessed Yehuda. Spoke about Yehuda a lot. A word about the first Yehuda. When he was born, there was a world order. In the world order, there were lies, deception, heartbreak. There were bechors and secondborns. Worse. There was in the family, there was out of the family. This order was maintained by historical forces, by collective memory in ways that we can't possibly understand. A boy deceives his father, and a generation later, his sons deceive him. We act in certain ways because our parents did, because our society does, and we are set up as objects, doomed to repeat the same mistakes. And into this world strolls one man. This man, he was not the bechor, he was not the leader, he didn't have the right ideas, he didn't always do the right thing. But when he was confronted with that, when he was faced with his own sin, he had one thing that no one else had. He had 2 words. Tzadka mimeni. She is right, and I am wrong. And Yehuda's ability to be modeh, to acknowledge, to confront, to realize, to pivot, to admit, and to change, those were tidal forces, a superpower. This was the lodestone of the kings of Israel and the bedrock of Malchut Yehuda. This is the reason that everyone in the room calls themselves Jews. Yehuda can do tshuva, he can change, and he can break the iron shackles of fate. He is not subject to the world order. He is above it. Do you understand? Because Yehuda did tshuva, he broke the cycle of violence in the family, established himself as a leader. He gifted his bloodline with this trait as a cornerstone of their leadership. He established the strongest tribe, the kings of Israel, the first commonwealth of the Jewish people, the tribe that survived the conquest of the Syrians, the tribes who survived the destructions of both of our temples. You, every one of you in this room, his choice resulted in you and you, which is to say that Yehuda marches alongside you in the long march of the Jews. Yoshiyahu. I used to joke, there are 2 kinds of Jews. People who ask me when they meet me if I'm related to Don Pardo, and people who ask me if I'm related to Rabbi David Pardo, Chassid David. It's not true, there are many more Jews, but I'm often asked if I'm related to the ancestral Pardo line. When Yaakov was born, I was haunted by this. My grandfather was orphaned at the age of 4, so I didn't have like a lot of big family tree going back. So I was, oh my God, Yaakov was born. Now I realize it's like the Ben of somebody. I had to figure out. So went crazy on the genetics. It's a long story. I'm already into overtime. But I discovered, and I'm happy to share with you how this is also something that you're interested in doing for yourself. I discovered a fifth cousin, and I noticed up the chain that we are at the top of that about 11 generations ago. Discovered a Rabbi Yehoshua Pardo, which was insane because I just read a book about him. Because, by the way, we only discovered his tombstone in 2008. He's buried in Curaçao. He was born in Amsterdam in 1626. The Pardo family was already well known at that time. His grandfather, Rabbi Yosef, was a Chacham in Thessalonica, and his father, Rabbi David, after whom I know, was a Rav in Venice. And Yoshiyahu himself, he taught in yeshiva, and he had a stellar. He didn't call it a stellar. It was called Chonin Dalim. However, he crossed the Atlantic and was the Rav in Curaçao for 9 years, where he established a school and other institutions, and then he went to Port Royal, Jamaica, where he was the Rav there until he died. So listen, Jamaica at the time had a rap for being a big stomping grounds for pirates, which is to say, Jews who were anti the Spanish government and swore a blood oath to bring it to its knees via revenge, economic or otherwise. So I know I've spoken about Yoshiyahu in public in the past, and I know people get stuck on the shtick of the pirates, but before we get lost on that, don't get me wrong, it's very good shtick. But don't miss the point. You have a Jew who crossed the Atlantic Ocean halfway around the world, having no idea what's there. He was the first rabbi in the northwestern quadrant of the world. He was the first rabbi in the Western Hemisphere outside of Brazil. There are very few Terra Nova events that you can imagine in history that you could relate to like that. And why? What drove him? What was his? Was it Parnassa? Was it persecution? Was it opportunity? Better weather, maybe? Better politics? Why most people in the room are here? We will likely never know. But the spirit to stand up to the call, to be ready for the next adventure, to know every step is part of the long march of the Jew through history, that footstep reverberates through to this day. His tombstone, which I mentioned to you, was only discovered in 2008, bears the following pasuk from Melachim Bet. Vaya'as hayasher be'enei Adonai, vayolech b'chol derech David aviv, v'lo sar yamin usmo. Yoshiyahu did was right in the eyes of God, and he walked in all the ways of David his father. He turned neither right nor left. He walked in the ways of David his father. Together they walked. Together they marched. They joined the long march of the Jews. Amihai Yehuda Yoshiyahu, you were restless in the womb. And you came out punching. You came out with scars on your face. Stay restless. Stay fearless. Know where you came from and know where you were going. The march has stretched for millennia, and there are miles to go before you sleep. We love you.